So I guess it is starting. Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I'm Musa, LCB of Isaac in Linz, and today I will be talking about internal governance of Isaac in Austria, and as well as local entities or local committees in Austria, and how the internal governance of Isaac works. I'm not gonna go like into more details and specific details, but I will just talk about general things that you need to know before you apply for LCB. Um, but you will get to know more in details when you are responsible for that area of uh, LCB. So, yes, the content of today's session is governance structure. So the structure of the governance, internal governance of ISAC, Austria, and then roles and responsibilities of the structures of governance, and then decision making and general assemblies, and how that works as well. And lastly but not least, accountable towards. So internal governance structures, who are they responsible or accountable towards? So these are the main topics that we will be discussing today here. So let's go into them. Yes. So the formal structure of internal governance of Isaac Austria. So this is the structure of the governance in Isaac Austria. So we have committee member, we have national board, we have board of leaders or board of presidents, actually. Sorry about that. That should say board of presidents. We have executive board. So I'm gonna go then what each body contains of. So committee member is contained, or as we call it, like MC or member committee. Uh, it's contained MCVBs, so member committee vice presidents, plus the member committee president, which is the MCP in a abbreviated way. Then we have national board, and national board contains MC, which is member committee, which contains, as we said, like MCVBs and MCB, plus LCBs. So that's the national board, the board that manages Isaac Austria as a body together. So there are two bodies, the board from the national board or national committee, and then the LCBs, who are from the local committees, and together they manage Isaac Austria as an entity together. And then we have board of presidents, not leaders, presidents, and that contains LCBs, local president, local committee presidents, and MCP, member committee president. So that's also called board of leaders. And then we have executive board, which is in a local level, and that contains LCB, local committee president, and then vice presidents of the local committee. And executive board manages the local committees in that sense. Yes. And then we have accountability, like how these different bodies of governance are accountable to each other, or who are they accountable to. So, committee members, or like member committee, or MC as we call it, who are they responsible towards? So, they are responsible towards MCB, which is the member committee president, and LCBs, uh, local committee presidents. They are accountable to that body. So LCBs and MCB are manage like are making sure that MCVBs are accountable to that body. And then we have national board, who is national board is accountable towards, which is basically the members. So the national board, as we already talked about, contains of MC and local presidents, local committee presidents or LCPs, and that body together is accountable towards the members, which means members can need to be, or members are the ones who hold accountable this body together and make sure that they do their job in a good way. And then we have board of presidents, um, and who are board of presidents accountable towards? They are accountable towards EBs, or executive board, which is basically VBs, local committee vice presidents, and the MCB, or member committee president. They are accountable towards these two bodies in ISEC. And that means the MCB manages the board of presidents, and then EBs, or vice presidents, make sure that the LCBs are doing their job and making them or holding them accountable. And then yeah, I have some like weird effects over here. And then we have executive board, and who executive board is accountable towards? They are accountable towards MC, which is together the MCB and MCVBs plus members. So the MC is making sure that EBs, or like local executive board, is managing the local committee in a good way or in a perfect manner, and then the members are also making sure that the executive board or the EB is managing the LC in a good way, in that sense. Yes. And then we have decision making and general assembly or assemblies. So in ISEC internally, who makes decisions in ISEC? Both in national level and in local level, and as well general assemblies and how that also work. We're gonna be talking about a bit about that. Yes, so the national board, which we already talked about, which contains the LCBs and the MC together. They are the national board. They are responsible for decision making, for decisions affecting the whole entity. So to make the decisions which are affecting ISEC Austria as an entity, they are the body who takes the decisions which are affecting the entity. They are as well responsible for implementation of change management. That means if anything is changing regarding products that we have or regarding projects that we have, the national board is the one who is responsible to implement this change of management. And then they are also responsible for setting goals and direction of the entity. So they are responsible setting the quarterly as well as yearly goals for the entity, but also the direction that the ISEC Austria as an entity is taking for the next years, which are coming up. And then we have what we call reports. And regarding reports, why do we need reports and how do reports work? That's also like a good question. And the reason is it's part of accountability, but as well as making decisions. Because if we don't know what happened like last quarter or like last year, we will not be able to make decisions or like good decisions for the entity for the future. But as well, we cannot like make sure that the direction that the entity is going is the one that the entity needs. So, couple of points over here. On each aspect, like reports, the LCBs and the MC members or member committee members are responsible to report on each aspect of local entities. That means in terms of exchange reality, in terms of legalities and finance, and in terms of talent management. That's what I mean by aspects. As well as the MC also reports on that on a quarterly basis as an accountability system. Yeah. And then they are as well responsible to report on previous year the data and like activities and everything that was happening the last year or the previous year to map out the next year's goals and the direction that the entity wants to take, and as well as to come up new strategies so that the entity can move forward in a positive way. And then, yes, general assemblies, or as we call them when they are abbreviated, GAs. Yeah. So, why there are general assemblies in the first place? Why do we need them? That is a valid question that you might ask yourself. And GAs are important to make sure we are complying to the laws and regulations of Austria as well as ISEC regulations. So in order for us to make sure that we are following as an entity or as an organization according to the laws of Austria, we need to have general assemblies to make sure that we are following the laws and regulations of the country and reviewing like what has been happening in quarterly basis, but as well as in yearly basis. But as well, we have ISEC regulations, which come from ISEC International, which also we need to follow as an entity, and they are important as well to follow those. JS are also important to make any change on local and national compendiums and supporting documents as well, although I didn't put it over there. So without holding a general assembly, which means basically calling every member, every full member of the local committees, but as well as the national committee or national board on the GA, so that together as a local entity or as a national entity, we can make decisions if we want to change or add anything into the compendiums, but as well as to pass, for example, um, important dates that for conferences, for example, and events like Youth Speak Forum, for example, which is like a famous event that we run. Um, as well, they are important to elect managing bodies and to mandate responsibilities. So, what do I mean by managing bodies? So, we talked about the structure of internal governance of ISEC, uh, Austria. And these bodies need to be elected by the members of the entity, whether it is locally or whether it is nationally. And that's why they are important. GAs are important also to fulfill these very important roles that we need and to fill them as well. But also to mandate responsibilities. So, for example, if we are mandating, uh, let's say a local committee, let's say Linz, to hold or to organize a conference, then we need to mandate that so that that LC or that local committee is accountable and we will be able to hold them accountable um, to organize that event. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit messy, when there's no mandate, um, like mentioning that. It could be, like a bit messy. Yes. And then lastly, but not least, we have touch points. So we talked about like different things that we do internally and the way that we manage the entity internally as ISEC Austria and as local entities. But what kind of like touch points when it comes to the national level? What kind of touch points do we need for those governance or internal governance that we need to fulfill? Um, so I didn't put here all of them, and especially I only put here the national touch points that you will have as a LCB. So a touch points that you will be having is national board meeting, uh, or in a short NBM, which happens quarterly. Uh, that means every 3 months we need to have a national board meeting so that we can review on the progress of the strategies of the goals that we set and make if we need any change or adaptations or to improve anything. And then we have national legislation meeting, which also happens in quarterly basis. And for the national legislation meeting, I would like to mention that there is um, one which is like we need to do it like every quarter, which is the national legislation meeting. But if there is an urgency to pass, like let's say a budget for a conference or to change a clause in the compendium, then or like to pass a budget either like in the local or in the national level, then we can have extraordinary national legislation meeting or an extraordinary uh, meeting, local meeting in that sense, which we can pass or like discuss urgent things that we need to address either in the compendium, passing a budget, changing, the time line of an event or a conference and all of that, or even mandating responsibilities to either members of the national board or um, in a local level. And yes, that was basically the presentation today. Hope this will help you understand a bit more of uh, how the LCB uh, could be taken part when it comes to the uh, internal governance of ISEC Austria, but as well as in a local level. And I would love to answer any questions you have. So you can always contact me. Um, I might put my email after this presentation in the BBT. And if you have any questions about internal governance, then you, or any other questions regarding, like the application of LCB, you could contact me and ask me any question you have. Thank you very much. And I hope to see a lot of applications on the 15th of September. Thank you very much and bye bye. Marie!
Yes, stop the recording.
Also, when
It
I
will be
stop,
sent by me.
okay, it
Mm-hmm.
says stop or cancel. So I click stop, right?
Stop. Yes.